Good evening. My name is Daniel Young. I'm the owner and founder of Adaptive Perspective and the Adaptive Perspective social media platforms. This video continues my advocacy for using closed-end funds as our investment strategy. If you want the full methodology and our 12 steps to financial freedom, then head over to Facebook and check out my group there called Navigate Your Finances, where I give you the whole thing for free. Reminders and also disclaimers. So this is an unedited video. Who knows what you'll hear in the background as I film these in my house. I am not a financial advisor. I am a financial strategist, and I don't speak like the herd. I walk in limited company, and sometimes I walk alone. So a lot of stuff going on. Um, a lot of stuff going on. Uh, and I didn't want to repeat the same stuff. And my goal is not to repeat the same stuff, but a lot of it hasn't changed. But there's been some key developments in the last week that we need to pay attention to. So Kiyosaki says he's great at breaking down micro data, like world data in like layer, like upper echelon macro data. And he's really good at breaking down macro data into micro data that's applicable to you and me. And that's somewhat true. But he doesn't always break it down into the understandable micro data, but also like the micro data that's central to our individual microcosms. But that's one of my strengths. I synthesize data. So I listen to the super macro guys, the macro guys. I listen to the sub macro guys like Kiyosaki. And then I condense all of that into the data that helps our microcosm, my microcosm, and then guides that strategy. And quite honestly, the strategy remains in place. Not much has really changed in regards to that, but more people are overall of the changes I've seen in the last week. Uh, more people continue to realize the Fed is lying about the economy. You and I both know the inflation rate is off. Supposedly, the overall inflation rate is going to hit 3.5% this week, but that's not accurate. You and I both know that number is too good to be true because we're all still seeing inflation that's higher than 3.5% across the board, groceries, gas, fast food, and everything else. So ask yourself this, if inflation is really under control, and if that annualized inflation data is lowering overall, then why are we seeing slight hikes or slight raises in that month to month or month over month CPI data? If the system is stable and improving based on what the Fed's telling you, then why aren't all the numbers improving? And why aren't the numbers improving in these other places? Like if inflation really is getting better, then your grocery bill should be going down. Or yes, gas is gas, right? You've got the cost of oil and you've got all the taxes related, but that's also an inflationary gauge. But we have all this other data at our disposal, and we're not seeing decreases in all these other data points, right? So why would that core overall month-to-month CPI data increase? The only things that make sense are that the Fed is printing money again, and we know they are. And they're lying about the overall health of the economy, and they are. Most people think that we're either in a recession or we're damn near close to being in a recession. And that's with the Fed telling us that the health of the economy is good. Kiyosaki recently, like I got an email this evening, which means he said this before this evening, but Kiyosaki's predicting a Great Depression-like event for us to see and experience as more countries dump the US dollar as their country's currency. Brett Owens, the only guy that I pay for his advice. I pay for his contrarian outlook service. Brett Owens is predicting some type of major fear event, uh, or moment. So the what he's talking about is CNN's fear and greed index. In that pendulum um, between extreme greed and extreme fear, he's predicting a fear or extreme fear moment later this year. And then uh, I don't pay for this. I don't pay for Seeking Alpha uh, for a lot of reasons, but I do get their free emails. And in their free emails, they're releasing a news section of their free emails called Macro Brief. And buried in that macro brief is some interesting data. So you got Kiyosaki saying Great Depression, you've got Brett Owens saying major fear moment later, but inside that macro brief, there's this really small snippet. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway are both becoming increasingly cautious and are amassing cash on their company's balance sheets. And the microeconomic data, the microeconomic signals imply that risks are rising. So if Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett are stacking cash, meaning they're selling some things, right? Or they're not reinvesting the dividends they have. If they're amassing cash, that means they're planning on some type of fear event. They're kind of reading the tea leaves. They're planning for the fear event. They're planning for that, whether Great Depression or otherwise, but they're waiting for the stock market to correct and dip so they can buy low. And Brett Owens says it all the time. I've said it as well. When that CNN fear and greed index moves into the extreme fear area, and you have a lot of the newbie investors dumping money, right? Not so much dumping money, but dumping stocks and selling. You capitalize on the fear. You snag deals when it's extreme fear, right? You pick up great stocks that give you great return. You get great dividends in the long run, like all the stuff. So you've got four different people saying the economy is not in a good position. And yet we have the Fed telling us the economy is in a great position. And the Fed has been known to lie. And I am this way in general, but I'm more this way since the last 4 years, 5 years. Uh, the overall trust in the news cycle and the overall trust in government is low. Like the data's always wrong. So now the Fed's telling us all this stuff, like inflation's at 3.5, the economy's in great shape. We're in a good position. And that tells me the data is not as good as what they're spinning. And these other things make me, it's not like a red flag, but it definitely has my attention. So where does it leave us? Like, what's the best advice? I mean, the junk bonds are junk, true consumer goods like ketchup, mustard, and Oreos, those are way too chaotic. Um, it's how to buy the best deals down with the best long-term game in mind. And quite honestly, if those four financial gurus are are suggesting, hinting, not even hinting, but like strategizing and planning for a major fear factor event, there there are really great deals right now, but you have to kind of weigh that strategy with your own. Should you buy right now? I think we have to listen to Robert Kiyosaki as a whole. Buy what the Fed can't print. And I mean, on our end, we've we've taken that advice to heart. We look at bonds, tech, utilities, real estate. Uh, but can't the Fed print oil, tech, which is an oil derivative, uh, real estate, bonds, right? Brett Owens, the guy the only service I pay for when his contrarian outlook team Um, when they offer advice and suggestions, I listen. And when, I mean, I don't always take it for his advice. I mean, I do have my own opinions. He encourages, I won't say he encourages, his team of people. So Brett Owens looks at the market overall, ETFs, general bonds, closed-end funds. He's got a guy on his team that is predominantly closed-end funds. So when he's picking individual companies, I listen, but we've devoted ourselves to that closed-end fund methodology for the long term. Um, yeah, but when Brett Owens goes, like, you really ought to consider bonds, or lately it's just bonds are the best buy. Um, and then everybody else hops on the same bandwagon. That's alerting. So why is he encouraging bonds? Well, because with the Fed going into obvious printing mode instead of quiet printing mode, um, and with this hope for rate cut, both of those help the bond market. Um, I mean, you got the Fed printing money, kind of bolstering the market overall, um, and then in general, when rates go down, bond prices go up. That inverse relationship would help the bond market overall with a rate cut. So, I mean, condensing all of that data down, where do we look? Like, what sectors do we look at? I found this really cool article through Ready News that I'll share my screen quickly in case you want to find it. But you're looking for this article. It's a decent article. I disagree with the overall uh, strategy, but I understand the strategy the guy's talking about. But the graphic inside the article is this, and this is just not blown up, but it's just enlarged. It's for the last year where money is flowing inside the market. And we all see this, right? We all see everybody, I won't say everybody, we all see a ton of people pumping money into technology and not here. Like every other company here or sector that's listed relies on technology versus this is like outright technology. NVIDIA, ASML, Taiwan Semiconductor, all of those guys on the developmental front of technology, the chip makers and the software companies and the cloud data. That's this. So where should we be investing right now? Like the article says, like here's where the herd is. You can kind of see like the two other greens down here, telecom and industrials. Here's where the bulk of the herd is. You've still got some people over here. This is where I would be investing. And the guy in the article advocates for healthcare. Um, as I told my girls today, that over the past 5 years, more people have become aware of the dangers of big pharma. And like government, more and more people trust medicine less. But it's not just big pharma, because even though they might hate or might loathe the drug companies in their offerings of what they say and don't say, they still can't separate out their orthopedic, eye doctor, hearing doctor, this doctor, that doctor. That it's the medical community at large. So when people think of healthcare, they most often think of big pharma. There is a decent component of healthcare that's not big pharma, but there are a lot more people that are distrustful of the healthcare industry overall because of big pharma. So from my standpoint, that's why most people are not investing in healthcare. There are really great advancements in healthcare. You get new technique, new surgical tools, new knee replacement stuff. All of that stuff's good, right? But big pharma and the other stuff overshadows I mean, honestly, all the knee replacements and cool surgical tech. So I mean, really, you could advocate for here because that's pretty much baseline. So not outright tech, not NVIDIA, not ASML, not pick your microchip company. Uh, and that's not Google or Microsoft. Like we're looking down here and really down here at the very bottom. So if we could take the data off of that infographic, then I mean, yes, overall, if we're looking at categories, bonds and loans are the place to be. Like that for the short run and the long run, that's the highlight of things. Real estate's still the dog. I mean, if you look at the article, if you look at the picture, the dog is really healthcare. But for us, real estate's the dog because nobody's talking about real estate. Um, and oil and energy infrastructure, price wise, is surging. Now I get it's below that zero line on the infographic, but price wise, that's surging. So unless we get it inside a different kind of portfolio, we're not really directly targeting oil and energy infrastructure. But of all of those things, uh, between real estate, senior taxable loans, corporate bonds, oil, energy infrastructure, so like outright energy or utilities. Uh, if you can find that through a bond package, that's a pretty good investment as well. Tech is on the rise. I mean, from the chart, tech is on the rise. So you can get it at a discount in a closed-end fund, but it's still overall more expensive than what it was. So it kind of comes down to your individual strategy and what you're willing to pay and where you think things are going to go overall. So for us, before we judge or before we make a decision on where specifically we're going to look, let's at least check out the discounts for the week and see how the strategy fits into what's available. So this took a lot longer to update this week. I went through every fund and updated the share cost. And after that, I went through every fund and updated the dividends. And then after that, I ranked everything by 9% yield and well, so I updated the grayed out version based on those parameters. I went through and sifted through so the blue is what we own, purple is what's recommended, green is what we track. But I went through the purple and the greens, and then I also went through and ranked everything by yield. So everything above 9% got sifted based on targets. I took notes on some. I jotted down others like this. I jotted down others, but not everything has comments because not everything was notable. Not everything was asterisk because not everything is notable. So what started out as A through Z, we're going to rank by discount. And now we're going to rank by target. And we're going to concentrate on the targets. I went ahead and put in our overall philosophy, or I guess overall strategy. And then let's see. So blue we own, purple is recommended by somebody I trust, somebody I read, and green is interesting and we track for any number of reasons. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So all of these have a discount that is significant for the individual company. It's not significant to any other company, but it's significant for that one company. So I don't know why that made the list when it's grayed out, but it's going to get deleted. And I'll just fix it on the back end. So first things first, we want monthly income. Aberdeen picked up this company and I'm considering selling it. So now we have all monthly payers. Now we're going to look at overall yield. So this company is going to stay, and I say this every week. It's the number one discount, and I went through their portfolio today because the data on Morningstar and the data on CF Connect is actually wrong. This is the current data off the company's report back in December. Morningstar still has it as a bond fund. Closed in Connect or CF Connects is similar, but it's not really a bond fund anymore. It's a real estate fund. But at the cheapest discount, so at greater, so we'll say 51% off. For every dollar invested, you're getting it for 51 cents off. Um, that's insane. So for fears that are overblown, the way they've structured their portfolio is, I mean, they're invested in a lot of things that are still in the process of being built. Um, the partnerships they've built are expanding. Oop. So if we look at it, man, crazy. New fund, don't know much about it. I mean, no dividend payments, brand new fund, and it's already crazy valued. So if zero is break even, like when you put in a dollar, it's actually worth a dollar when you put it in. GGT, instead of it being a dollar, you're paying $1.58 for every dollar invested, or every share you buy at every dollar invested. And this is kind of the reverse. For every dollar invested, you're really getting it for 51 cents, or 51 cents off. So it's really 49 cents, which is just, we would be foolish to ignore it. So that will stay on the list, even though it's not at 9%. The other, yep, at least in the short run, these will stay on the list. These two are not these two. Nope. These two at the bottom are municipal funds. So their tax equivalent dividends are higher than 9%. But we're going to honestly whittle this down eventually. That same thing for these. They had a recent dividend increase, so it changed. Our tax bracket is 22%. If you've got a different tax bracket, you can check your tax bracket with their data. I get it. 8.99 is close, but I'm trying to be a stickler. So that one stays because of discount. These are staying because of the municipal fund. Now, we're picking funds for our Roth. The Roth is, you can put X number of dollars in a year. I believe I want to say it's around 7,200. You can put X number of dollars in a year, so long as you jump through the hoops. When you withdraw the money, there are no taxes. It's not tax deferred like an IRA. It's just no taxes. And it's not getting added to your income. It's just no taxes. So since there are no taxes for the Roth, so long as you jump through the hoops, adding a municipal fund to get out of taxes doesn't make a ton of sense. If we were buying funds for the individual brokerage, I could argue for adding municipals and making a municipal only fund, because then you end up with tax advantaged, like tax equivalent dividends, no taxes, and a Roth, no taxes. But for now, we're going with Roth account. So all of this stuff comes off. So we end up with 9% and above plus the one. So now we look at it. I don't know why it does this. Oil, energy, utilities. So as tempting as some things are, like that's an all stock portfolio that's considerably higher than when we bought it. That's an all stock portfolio. That's an all stock portfolio. That's all. That's all. They're tempting because they have a lot of fun, interesting stuff. They're managed well. I like the added policy of uh, oh, it's similar to this one. Uh, this covered call strategy that supports dividends or boosts dividends, juices dividends, however you want to say it. I mean, I like that, but if we're playing the existing market with both the short term and the long term rates in mind, the straight stock portfolios, as tempting as they are not first or even second on the list. So everything that's all stock gets taken out. It's an interesting company. I don't know much about this one. It's really cheap. It's always been really cheap. Um, this has a single bond investment, but it might as well be all stock. I'm still deleting stuff. We'll just put oil for now. And of the remaining stuff that I've looked at, um, and I reviewed these funds, but for whatever reason didn't notate them, which just kind of goes with it was not as important to notate it like this. Um, it leaves us with this. So you end up with bonds in varying capacities. So bonds, mixed bonds, global bond fund, um, HLB, the sister group of HFRO. Uh, where are we? FSCO we already own. Oops, that one's all stock. So that one comes off. So now we have these. So before I say more, there's probably three things you got to know. One, we're not buying on Monday. Two, we're going to see how the week shakes out with Robert Kiyosaki presenting or predicting a Great Depression, with Diamond and Warren Buffett socking away cash, and with the next round of Fed theories or more falsified data out for the week, we're going to kind of see how things go. And then three, I mean, we're shifting money around. I've got stuff to evaluate off the individual account. Um, Aberdeen has now bought out two companies that we own, and I'm not a huge. We own an Aberdeen fund that I like, but they've bought out two other funds, and I don't know if I like them enough to stay because they're going to consolidate one of those funds into a fund that we already sold. Um, I just don't like their management of things. So I've got some stuff to figure out there with Diamond and say with those four guys prepping the Sockaway cash and with our overall goal to kind of sell off the individual to initially fund the Roth, I've got some stuff to figure out for this week and in the coming weeks. So we're not buying tomorrow. So if we were buying tomorrow, what would we buy? We would buy based on this structure. Um, I had this debate with myself earlier, and I know what I've said on here because I've both said it sounds decent, and I've also said it doesn't sound decent. Maybe not indecent, but it's hard when I don't personally see when I don't personally consider an investment in renewable energy because it doesn't compare to oil. I mean, it's comparative based on what the government does in order to prop it up and make it competitive, but oil supplies renewable energies. And it's renewable in the sense that when it doesn't work or breaks, you can use oil to offset the issue. Like wind turbines are powered by oil and diesel. Solar panels are made out of oil and its derivatives. Uh, the I mean, but just because I'm more of an oil person, I'm an oil person, not more of an oil person. I'm an oil person and see that as a renewable resource. Um, Not everybody, thinks the same way. So is there value in this fund? I can argue for it, but I don't know. Um, Renewable energy in that sense, so you look at a wind farm or a solar farm, um, wind farms are not competitive. They are based on government subsidies. Um, Wind farms will destroy a raptor population. They require a diesel motor to turn the blade fast enough so the wind can actually blow it from there. It requires oil to run. Solar panels, like I said, take oil in order to make. So whenever they break and you have to replace it, if the country isn't producing oil, then there are no solar panels. If the country's not producing oil, then there's not diesel and oil for that wind turbine. There's also not equipment to repair those things. There's also not microchips for your phone, this computer, or your fridge, or pacemakers, or uh, there's not oil derivatives that are uh, like in rubber and in uh, shoe material. And there's so many things that oil goes into. It's still interesting to me to have a company built on renewable energy and not oil when all of their renewable energies require oil in order to run or to be manufactured and made. The the argument is though, this fund ends in 7 years. And I don't know the specific date, but it ends in 7 years. And whenever it ends, whenever the term reaches, it will sell and liquidate at whatever the NAV price is. So currently it's about $3 higher. So to put it in comparison, like if we, and I get this is what we have to spend, but this is not my point. If we put a similar investment into these two companies, now we're starting off similar. Is it exact? No, but it's similar. If we compare these two as to what they are right now, 153 for the year times 7 years, you get it in 7 years. BRW will if everything stays the same, BRW will pay you at over $1,000 in dividends. If we do the same thing for TEEV, it doesn't pay you near as much, right? But on that $100, you've got a $3 price difference as of right now. So 3 times 100, 300, and that's based on the data right now. If the NAV goes up $1, then it's $100 more. If it goes up $2, now it's $200 more. So I can see the strategy in the sense of you set it and forget it. That you park your money, you get the annual dividend, and in 7 years, whenever it liquidates, you get the NAV price. I can see the strategy in that. I can't. I mean, you're getting a great dividend. You're going to get a profit. Um, I can hear the argument and I can understand the argument. I just don't know if it's an investment that I would still get into. Um, and is it bet it it's a rising dividend? If you change, I want to say it's this. You change the dividend back to where it used to be. I mean, yeah, it's a game changer. Um, but it's not, well, would it be a game changer? Let's look. It would still be different, but it's closer. So could I don't know if I can argue for it, but I can certainly listen to the argument and consider it. I still don't know enough about these. So for me, it comes down to what we're already invested in and this one. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'll add it to my list for the week to see if I can justify. Like, it's one of those things. It comes down to what you overall believe in. One. It also comes down to where you see everything long term. Um, Green energy, from my standpoint, green energy in and of itself is not renewable because it's not renewable in the sense of how they advertise it as not renewable. Create the solar panel, right? Hardline it to a battery or use it in your house. Yes, it sunshines, it collects it, you can use it in your house. I get that. It has a purpose, it has a place. Off grid, in the middle of nowhere, solar makes complete sense. Most urban homes are just not wired for it. But is it renewable? Well, they get dirty. You got to clean them. They have to be replaced. But in order to replace it, you need oil in order to replace it. Um, I've said my spiel about wind turbines. Um, it's not competitive, and we don't have all the data. It's in renewable that when those blades are bad, they go to a landfill. Except they go to a special landfill. They're not used for something else. So I can understand the argument. I don't know if I could actually buy it. Put it that way. I get the strategy. I just don't know if I can. I don't know if I would buy it. So where does that leave me? If we were buying, this is what we already have. So if we were buying, what would we buy? There's not a direct way to play into that per se. Yeah, there's not a direct play into that. There's really not a direct play into that. So it's really bonds and real estate. So I like the idea still of a US only bond. I also like what BRW is doing to shake up the closed-end fund world. Uh, they really are pushing companies to cut fees and dispense a greater dividend. So I like what they're doing too. Um, I could advertise, or well, maybe not advertise. I could advertise is not the right word. I could, drawn a blank. I could, man, this is really weird. This is the raw video component where it's not edited. Um, I could listen to an argument for all of them. I could argue for all of them. There we go. Um, so we could do this. That would keep us under 9. We get the sun down here. I don't know if we could do this too. I think that pushes us over what we have. It does. So I would either buy that. So I would either buy outright bonds, right, which would give me a greater dividend because of that, or I would buy the sets I would buy the sister funds and scoop that for just a straight bargain. Um, and not just the hope, but the data that's in their portfolio, which I did not find this portfolio data on Morningstar. I didn't find it on CF Connect. This is from their data on their individual quarterly missive. So as of March, then you can pause the video and read all this stuff. I'm not going to read it to you. But they really have switched from a bond company to a real estate company. And if you go to their website, excuse me, if you go to the Next Point website, nextpointassetmanagement.com, you can look for the HFRO portfolio or the most recent portfolio update. And there's an option to listen to it or there's an option to see it. And I opted to see it. And that way I can see all the financials. And it's an interesting portfolio of how they've crafted it. So they're making payment. I mean, they can scoop the dividend now, but a lot of their stuff is like they've built partnerships uh, with stuff that will be coming to the market between now and 2027. So with a lower interest rate, hopeful, I mean the bonds will do well, but so will real estate. So I mean I could argue for either. Um, but I don't know if I can rationally argue this one for me just because of how I feel about oil. But I know that not everybody feels the same way. I mean, of our, uh, it, we have an investment property. The company that supplies the energy to the area, Swebco, is also known as the American Electric Power Company. They have a huge renewable energy section that's mostly a wind farm in Oklahoma. Um, and I get that, but it's what I feel about the wind turbines because they really do damage an environment more than they help it. And you can be like, oh, but they look at all the power that comes from it. Okay, well, is the overall power generated subtracting the level of power needed in order to just turn the turbine because the turbine blades are so heavy? And I don't think it is. So I don't know if I could argue this for myself, but we'll see what the week holds. I mean, I have a lot to think about this week, so we'll see what it goes. But if you forced me to if you forced me to buy something tomorrow, I would buy sets. I really would. I would either buy 50 shares of either BRW and FSCO, or I would buy a 50 set of HGLB and HFRO. I would buy 50 50 shares of both of, or of one of the other, of one of those sets. Um, but it really is just, it's a split top four for the week. All would be great. All would be great for us. Really comes down to your individual strategy and what you have in the portfolio, your long-term vision, uh, and where you see the market going overall. So that's what I got. Uh, let's see. So if you like the content, consider subscribing to my channel. Hit the like button, head over to Facebook and join my group there called Navigate Your Finances. And remember that regardless of where you are, regardless of your strategy, your goals, everything else, you're the captain of your ship. It's your decision to do all these things. And knowing where you are and where you want to be, knowing your strategy will help you figure out what you need to do in the short term versus what you need to do and kind of plan for in the long term. But knowing your strategy overall will really help you sift all the data and make the best buys. Because, I mean, quite honestly, NBXG is a well run technology 5G portfolio. But for playing the existing market like we are, uh, whether the Fed cuts rates or not, bonds are still the best play. And with everybody pumping money into outright technology, the best place to scoop deals are away from everybody else picking outright technology. Um, just the nature of the game. So consider where you are, consider where you want to go, consider what your overall strategy is, and then make the calls that benefit you the most in the short run and the long run. Be the captain of your ship because that boat will wander aimlessly if you don't take command. And yeah, sure, maybe even in your course of things, even in your expert navigation, occasionally, maybe you run into some issues, but overall, steer your boat, learn from it, keep going, right? Do the best you can to get to where you want to be because it's not going to happen on its own. All of us make mistakes. Look at our portfolio. I mean, when I show our portfolio, I show everything transparent, like the good and the bad. It's a continual learning adventure. And I get it. Like we're playing with money, but we're also not playing with money. The goal is to purposefully invest money, right? So we get to where we want to go or where we want to be, right? And it's scary. But the truth of the matter is your end goal, retirement, retire early, exist on dividends, whatever your financial goals are, none of that will happen unless you make it happen. It's not going to happen on its own. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Um, I mean, nobody else is going to do it for you. So take the time, learn, apply some strategy, grow, adapt it, and continue to improve it as you get from where you are to where you want to be. If that doesn't make sense, if you've never really thought about it, then come check out my group on Facebook. I talk about that and a lot of other stuff. And if you want more info on closed-end funds, by all means, add a comment. If you just want a conversation back and forth about closed-end funds, then by all means, add a comment. So, but it really is important. You're the captain of your ship. Make the decisions, make the hard decisions, right? Because nobody else is going to do it for you. Captain your boat and get from where you are to where you want to go. And if you need help, ask. And I'm more than happy to help you. I'm more than happy to talk strategy with you. Uh, yeah. So let's see. I'm off track again. On track. I mean, I'm all about helping people. I'm on track, but at the same time, I'm kind of off track on my overall script of sorts. So I will say it again and close. Of all the stuff that you want to do, right? Maybe it's hazy to you, maybe you can see it. If what you want could have happened already, it would have happened already. but it hasn't happened already. So if whatever you want, whatever's possible for you, it's out there and it's findable, it's doable, but you have to be the one to do it. A lot of people will help you. Some will not at all. And as much as, say, if I pick on Vanguard, as much as Vanguard or Edward Jones or anybody else will help you and steer the boat for you, it's really not helping you because they're going to charge you a lot of money. You can manage your own portfolio. It's challenging. It's not as easy as letting somebody else do it, but you're also going to eliminate a lot of fees, and you really do get to direct the overall course of things. But your dreams are so possible. Like wherever you are, if wherever you want to go, they are so possible. But it's up to you to make it happen. You can ask for help however you want. You can have somebody else direct your portfolio and tell them about closed-end funds. You can take on the challenge of doing your own portfolio of what we're doing. You can take on the challenge of investing in your own portfolio. But however you do it, it's still going to come down to you. You have a lot of power in getting from where you are to where you want to go. Nobody's going to do it for you, right? So be the captain your ship needs. Do the work, make the decisions, form some strategy, and keep going, right? No one's going to do it for you. So get out there and make it happen. See y'all on another video. Bye bye.